Welcome to the fourth edition of Penpot Community Hours, the Ambassador Program special edition. For those that don't know me, I'm Meda, Community and Events Lead here at Penpot. Joining me today, we have Elena. And then, of course, we have the very first Penpot Ambassadors. With that, to get right started, I'm going to pass the mic to Elena, who's going to tell us a little bit about the first reactions, how the program first came to life, and everything.
When someone is passionate about something, it naturally comes up on conversations. You don't keep it to yourself. You want others to discover it, to participate, and even improve the project. And that's how everything started at Penpot. We saw people sharing it, contributing, even becoming connectors at different events, helping the ecosystem grow. We asked ourselves, how can we take all this energy? And it happened. We officially launched the Ambassador Program, and in just 1 week, we got over 130 people joining the waiting list, totally exceeding expectations. So thank you, everyone, for your interest, for your contributions. And if I knew all those 40 languages, I would use them, but I hope my smile will do. To learn more, Medet will walk us through how the program works, how to apply, and how all the many different ways to contribute.
How often do we go to conferences, events, when we hear, we creatives, we designers, developers, so on and so forth. We have such great responsibility that goes beyond our projects. So we have to do something for everyone. We have to share. Then, boom, sales, product comes in, everything changes. I thought, hey, why don't people not talk about us, but talk about the craft itself? Give them the platform to share their takes. And what if these topics were curated by the community itself in the longer run? And then we hear real life stories and real peer-to-peer learning experience. That was the main insight. And that's what we think that makes this ambassador program quite unique.
Well, we're creating learning cycles around different topics: open source, design, development, and others to come, to start meaningful conversations. All the insights and takeaways that happen after these conversations will be gathered into a collaborative open library. We hope that this will become a really diverse and valuable library.
Learning cycle, we see them as buzzing topics or evergreen topics that everyone they can learn from and then they can share. These will be evergreen topics in the future. We wanted to start with Penpot 3.0 for the very first learning cycle because yes, it's coming. The excitement is there. It's going to be big, whether you're new to Penpot or whether you're a veteran of Penpot. And we thought our ambassadors will get a lot of questions about this. So let's turn this into the very first learning cycle, open it up to everyone, and make sure everyone finds out about Penpot 3.0 firsthand. Q3 is going to be all about contribution in open source design. I know Eriol is super passionate about this topic. With this, we wanted to sort of double down on the stigmas around contribution to open source design, letting people have a chance to maybe for the first time contributing to an open source project. And Q4 is going to be all about tokenization. But more importantly, it's going to be about the common language and how you can best utilize them. And that's going to be 2026.
And today, our first ambassadors are here. They are going to introduce their projects and how they are already imagining the new ways to grow this open source community.
Hi everyone, my name is Layshi Curbelo. I'm from the Caribbean for the beautiful island of Puerto Rico, and I'm a UX designer specialized on accessibility. I'm focused to creating a community around accessibility, showcase how to make better digital products, taking into consideration accessibility in every step. We are creating some great events for the future. We have a couple of events on May with the community in Peru, representing Latam. You see a lot of conference that I focus on products, just like this product, it's shiny, cool. And when I go to the Penpot Fest, so many people gathering around about how we can be better products, how we can create better products. And for me, it was interesting. It's not the fighting about why accessibility has its return of investment. It's why accessibility is important. It was it's not about numbers here. This is great. So when you mentioned the Ambassador Program, it was well, maybe I will meet people that it's just so hyped like me with things that, I don't know, not too many people maybe are paying attention, and I want to spread the word. But I noticed that some people really want to actually listen to this stuff. So I was super excited about it.
I work at the Open Home Foundation as a designer. They're looking at some specific areas of smart home automation that's open source. I'm one of the maintainers at opensourcedesign.net and have been for something like seven or 8 years almost now. I sit on the board of the ethicalsource.dev, which looks at the contributor covenant as a contribution guide, and also ethical open source licensing. And I also approve or look at funding for open source software at the Open Technology Fund. And when I get a little bit of extra time, I still do work in the privacy and security open source software space. Hopefully not. I'm really nerdy specifically right now about digital sovereignty as a topic. Pablo raised this topic multiple times at Penpot Fest last year, and it's a huge multi kind of pronged topic and issue across the whole world, really. And really, it's in a response to a lot of the big technology platforms and their kind of ownership over our data and what they are doing with our data and information and platforms without really us being particularly involved in those decisions. And digital sovereignty and open source are ways in which to grasp back that freedom to configure your own software, and Penpot is instrumental to that. So one of the things I'm particularly interested in and excited about is really building up that learning stream too, building up that proficiency for designers to feel competent to have these conversations about technology. Like these open source loves to use like words that feel like secret words that you have to figure out what they mean before you can participate in the conversations. But those words shouldn't be secret. They should be shared with everyone, including designers.
I'll just share a quick story. And I think it's the story of how we got to get to know Penpot a lot more over the past couple of years. We met the Penpot team at the Blender conference a couple of years ago. And it ended up being an amazing conversation. And now we're working on the certification project together.
We start from a very simple idea because we know that Penpot has its own UI on our courses. So we would like to provide them and help them to build up a structured learning path for learners to develop their fundamentals and also their advanced skills in UI design that's using Penpot.
Our goal is to help teach and build communities around open source. We love what's happening with the MCP server. And I think that's what our community would be really excited to engage with more.
I am a designer since 2013. I have used a lot of softwares all around my career. I'm also a teacher of UX design, a specialist in UX design. Today, I work primarily with mentorship. I also have this work with content creation for open source software. I do that because my career only still stands today because of open source software. When I was in my university, I basically was with a bad PC, had no money to afford the scaling prices of Adobe and other stuff people use around. And I was like, well, maybe there is a solution for that. And I started studying. I learned about Linux. I learned about open source software in general, especially the open source software for design. And I was like, okay, where's the content in Portuguese? And I was kind of lost. This I'm talking about like in 2013 to 2016. Brazil wasn't a place where people talked about open source software openly, so I was like, okay, I have to do this alone. And then I decided to create content to help people having the same problems I had when I was starting, like how to install Linux, how to install Inkscape, how to use certain softwares for certain things, like how to edit a video, how to, create an interface. And since then, my mission was to bring this professionalism, bring this knowledge from the market to open source software. So I created the course of Penpot Fundamentals, was the first course here in Brazil. And I also had other contents in other softwares open source. And ever since, I've been working with Penpot kind of closely to bring news and content, and I was invited to be an ambassador. Was like, God, yes, I got it. And I was super happy, but I was like super composed, like, yeah, guys, thank you so much. And but all inside I was like, yes, I got it. Ah! Yes, it's official. Yes. I was thinking just like that, and I was super happy to be with you all. Hoping we can create good things together.
dndg is a small company based in Turin, Italy. We are specialized in software development and design. Our work is built around two main teams, the development one and the design one. And these two teams collaborate in every project, just from the very start till the very end. Our projects ranges from web platforms to embedded software. And so in some of these areas, design is often associated with, but in other it's less common. So this is where we try to differentiate ourselves by crafting and creating digital products that are beautiful, but also are simple to use. Here in dndg, we are also free software enthusiasts. So the development team for the longest use free open source tools. Fabrizio can tell us about.
Yes, so overall, I would say that we, as much as possible, try to gather to free software and even contribute back. And it ranges to the full stack. We've been for a long period of time in love with Debian. We love Linux. We have been using Zephyr and whatnot. And the very missing piece was on the design side. So on that area, we felt like as if we were tied to closed source platforms and closed source products. And we were trying to figure out a way to move away from that. And as Eriol said, the increasing value of digital sovereignty, it's a really hot topic right now. And even for us, even for business continuity, for companies, the ability to self-host is very valuable. And so when we heard of Penpot, of course, it sounded like something that we could be interested in. So we started playing with it. We started self-hosting it a bit on my very own computer with Design connecting to it. And as we moved on, I got feedback from designers with the likes of, oh, you know, actually, other than just being open source, I think tokens are valuable. Or I like how things are done in Penpot when it's different from other platforms. I can see value in that. And so eventually we start moving projects to Penpot, interacting with the community, and finally we decided to attend the fest where we met Medet, Elena, Pablo, and everyone else. And right there we felt this, it was a good match, a great match actually, because we felt like you brought good energy and good ideas and that match our values. And so when we met back at FOSDEM after the Penpot Fest, and Medet proposed that we became ambassador, I felt like, yeah, this is right. It feels right. It feels right. We can bring some value to this program, just like Penpot is bringing value to us, and it can be a growing opportunity for everyone. And so here we are, proudly so. And yeah, as I said, with our interdisciplinary approach, we are hoping to produce content for the library that ranges from the like of design system, from the design team, but even more letting developers understand why designers are important in our workflow and why design is important in open source project. For example, I remember Pablo at FOSDEM saying that open source software doesn't have to be ugly. So this is something that we hope to also reinforce, and with and even talking about data sovereignty and self-hosting, providing help with self-hosting is something that we hope to do. And overall, to create an open library of content seems like a great idea, regardless, to promote some discussion in our local community, which is not something so easy to do around design. So yeah, to find like-minded people and maybe slowly trying to pull people in seems like it could help to join forces like that.
And first, I'm very happy and very honored to be here today and to join this program. As you said, I've been following Penpot, I think, for about 4 years. I think it's 2022 when I started to hear about it, because I started working as a freelance developer, web developer, about 6 years ago. And in my personal and professional life, I've been very interested and into open source and digital sovereignty for about 15 years. So I'm a big user of Linux. I install Linux to everybody, everyone, and then I cross sometimes in my surroundings. So I like to promote alternatives that are open. And when I discovered Penpot, I was like, oh yes, great. That's a promising tool. And at the time, it wasn't at the stage it is today. But I really like to learn about it. And the topics I'm really interested in are a part of open source in general, also like accessibility as well, digital sovereignty, and I'm also interested in all that's about green IT. I try to participate in France with a non-profit organization to bring awareness about that, the impact of our digital activities, because I think it matters. And what else can I say? Because I recognize myself in many things that I heard before from the other ambassadors. So I'm not going to repeat what they say, but I'm pretty excited about this program. And I'm sure we have many opportunities in France to bring more awareness about this important subject, especially also because in France, people are, like in many countries, but in France also, people realize it's important maybe to, okay, where are my data? And maybe keep control over that. We see the government is setting up an official hub of digital tools for government activities, so that the data is actually using actually open source softwares and things like that. So I think Penpot will definitely get more and more attention, as it already has in France, but it's growing, I think. Yeah.